Hey y'all. This is HQ. This is the wife code with HQ. The name of this wifely lovely lesson is called When You Need to Forgive, right? And a lot of people run into the need to forgive throughout your marriage. If you've been married for a long time, you have to learn to forgive. It's not an easy process, right? I mean, each marriage has its ups and downs, each marriage has its challenges. No one knows what happens within a marriage but those two people, right? Therefore, what each person will tolerate is in the context of that marriage, family, and the life that you're trying to build with this person, right? So nobody can tell you as a wife uh, what you need to forgive and what you don't need to forgive. It all depends upon you, right? It all depends on how personal it is to you, uh, who's involved, what are the actions that this person or this husband or wife or whatever is going to take to rectify what uh, what has happened in that relationship. Uh, I mean, it's many factors that go into forgiving, and there's a lot of times we look at things that seem to be unforgivable, but they're just bumps in the road. I mean, so what I did was I made a list of things that people might find unforgivable in a marriage, right? Things that people might find unforgivable, and I'll tell you about those 10 things. And some of them are forget most of all of them are forgivable, I guess. It just depends on how much work you're willing to do inside and internally, because usually we each husband and wife, we develop things that we resent against each other, and then we have issues down the line, right? um I somebody wrote me an email. Three people wrote me emails, and they said uh, that one person said I had really poor attitude about money, and that got me and my husband into financial trouble with my needless spending to keep up with the Joneses. She said I got my head on straight and saved my relationship, but we're still recovering financially. He has forgiven me, but I still can't quite forgive myself. Another person wrote to me. Who's this person? They said, my husband used to block my exit. When we used to fight, he said he also hugged me and told me not to try to make me not touch him. He saw too many novels where the person would hold the person so they wouldn't be able to leave, or kiss the person to try to get them to forgive each other. And she said that made me furious. And then I had a third person. Uh, I used to choose to fight. Instead of leaving, we used to fight, physically fight, have confrontations. And that was early in the relationship. And we were that couple. Okay. And it was unhealthy. And they said something about the confrontations were ferocious. That was the word they used. This was how problems were handled in my home growing up, and it was normal to me. My husband would shut down and give me the silent treatment, or manipulate me, or gaslight me. This is what he observed as normal when he was growing up. Okay. So there's different reasons and things that happen in marriages, right? So I listed 10 things that I thought were the most detrimental to what a wife has to forgive or a man has to forgive. This is it's related to what women normally have to forgive, but men, it can happen to men too. Okay. Not the number one, neglect, substance abuse, lying about money, not trying to make the relationship work, trust is betrayed. Uh, No, another one is always lying is a bad one. Substance abuse, no, always lying is a bad one. Putting the kids in danger, disrespecting me, cheating, and physically abusing me. Okay, that's a list. That's like 10 things that would be considered unforgivable in a marriage. Right? And holding those grudges are harmful. It's harmful. You as a person have to learn to forgive for yourself. Learning to forgive for yourself does not mean that you're going to forget what this person has done. It's not that you forget. The problem is people hold on to these grudges. When one partner holds on to this resentment, it is going to create barriers and trust and intimacy issues. And it's going to make it difficult for you to move forward. Okay. But when you have 10 things that I listed, right? 5 of those things are not necessarily deal breakers, right? When you neglect the relationship, people every once in a while neglect relationships. And sometimes men get into the habit of working and forgetting about that they have to romance their wife. They have to pay attention to her weirdness, her quirkiness. Same thing with women. You have to get used to his quirkiness, his quietness, his alone time, those kind of things. And people forget that they have to remember that this is a whole nother human being. Okay. You cannot consistently ignore your partner's emotional and physical needs. And sometimes this becomes unforgivable because it goes on so long. You refuse to engage your partner in doing what needs to be done to sustain a relationship. This is the neglect. Okay. It can be turned around if both partners want to have open communication and dialogue with each other. If you neglect your partner or they neglect you, you have to be willing to talk about it, face it, confront it. Otherwise, it's going to get worse. And once you do, you have to learn how to put that behind you. The ones that I'm listing now, these first 5 are ones that are surmountable. These are surmountable things that are done that people feel like they can't forgive. Neglecting your relationship, that can be turned around. Okay. Substance abuse. Now, we all know that some people have been involved with partners that drink too much, that smoke weed too much, that do other extracurricular activities too much, right? That addiction, it negatively impacts the family, especially if there's no attempt to try to get help. If that person doesn't try to get help, if that person consistently neglects it, you have to let that person go. And then if that person or you want that person to come back, they have to actively work in order to restore themselves. Because in a marriage, two people have to be uh they have to be whole on their own. A lot of people say, well, get together and get married and you guys will grow together. Yes, grow together. But two people have to be individual human beings in order for them to grow together. Otherwise, they're always growing apart, trying to fix whatever's inside that's wrong. And if or you or your partner has substance abuse problems, you cannot grow together. You're not able to grow together. So this person and you have to separate in order for that relationship to come back together and grow. Sometimes things are done unforgivably within that addiction. And as the road goes on, you can probably forgive those too, but only if the person is willing to be upfront and honest about it. Okay. Number 3 is lying about money. Lying about money, basically that is when this person racks up debt in the marriage and they're fully disclosing that this is what happened, you have to learn to put that component in a box and separate your feelings from what they did. It's difficult to do that, but you have to put that in a different box. Financially, you can always recover because it's not something that's done to you to harm you physically, emotionally. It's a harmful activity that they have put onto this marriage. It can be forgiven, but it has to be forgiven completely and totally. Don't always completely trust. You can trust, but you got to verify that this person is doing the work to make it right again. They have to make it right again. Number 4, not trying to move the relationship forward. Refusing to participate. What is it? Not trying. Refusing to participate in resolving fights. Always walking away. Never wanting to talk. These things to some people are unforgivable. This is on the list of unforgivable things. But it can be changed, okay? If the person's willing to communicate and say why they're unwilling to make an effort to make this relationship work. Are they actively taking steps to turn that around? These things can be turned around. I gave you a list of 10 things that are unforgivable on a lot of people's list, right? So these are the first 5. The first 5, they can be actively turned around, okay? Because it's only a matter if they stop doing the behavior, it can be actively turned around. When you're number 5 is when the trust is betrayed. Okay. Lying about issues, lying about money, past behavior in relationships, family issues. My mother is dead. My mother is deceased, but she really ain't. Telling people our business, going over to your girlfriend's house, telling the business, going over to your boy's house, telling the these are acts of betrayal. These can be forgiven if the act is recognized by the partner, recognized by the person who is doing it, and you can turn that around in a relationship. Some of these things, people just be ready to get out the door and they done. Okay? Get out the door and they're done. You cannot walk out the door in a marriage just for things that you may be able to. It might feel as though it's personally against you and attacked against you, but you have to put that aside and look at it from an objective standpoint. Now, the last 5, the list of the last 5, and these are the worst. Okay. These are the worst. Disrespect and contempt. When the person is calling you names, belittling your progress in this world, refusing to communicate respectfully. These things can also be forgiven. But it's going to take counseling. It's going to take the healing process in your partner. Your partner has to recognize what they are doing, and they have to seek help separately from you in order to clear up why they feel the need to habitually belittle and demean you as a partner. That's the only way that is forgivable, is if the person recognizes that this is their problem and not your problem, and seeks help on their own without you doing it. And you give them the option of a time frame in which they seek help. This is for someone who disrespects you, demeans you. This is something that is within them, which means they have to seek help. It's forgivable, It's something that's forgivable, but the person who's doing it has to seek help. What's the next one? Okay. Always lying. Always lying. When you persistently lie about small and big things, this is a habit. This is a personal failure for your partner. They have to seek help. Just like the previous one, they have to seek help. And you have to see them seeking help. You have to see them doing the work to be upfront and honest. And you, as the wife or the husband, has to be willing to hear the truth. If you're willing to hear the truth in that relationship, and you expect that person to accept to take accountability for what they have been doing, little and small lies, then you have to be willing to hear the truth from your partner. Okay? Pretending to be something that you're not. A lot of people pretend to be something that they're not. And this, when the facade cracks, they don't know where to go and how to face themselves. And then you're looking at them saying, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are. At that particular point, that person has to go and do work on their own. And maybe you might separate. Maybe the marriage will suffer. But that person has to do that on their own. These are things that your individual mate has to face on their own without you. These 5 that I'm listing now, I'm on number 3. These are things that your partner has to face themselves first before they can be upfront and honest with you. And if you love the person and want to save the relationship, you have to give them room and space to do that. Okay, room and space. The number one, what was number one was disrespecting. That's something they have to face before you can make the marriage go forward. Always lie. Is it always lying? That's something that they have to face within themselves. These are 2 things that are personal failures within your partner. That's something that they have to face first, and they have to be willing to face it in order for the marriage to go forward. Number 3, lying about money, always lying. Okay. Disrespect, abuse. Endangering the children. Okay. Endangering the children. This might be people's number 1 thing that needs to be forgiven. You're in the car and you're driving drunk with the kids. You're in the car and you're driving high with the kids. You put your hands on the kids. You leave the kids in the car. You neglect the kids and leave the kids in the car. I know there was one lady who left her kid in the car and she went into gambling casino. She went into casino and gambled for 3 hours, left her kid in the car. Consistently neglecting your children, abusing the children, making choices that put children's safety at risk. As we go on, the list gets more egregious. You see how that's getting more and more egregious, more difficult to forgive. Neglecting, abusing the children. I don't know whether I could get past that one. For me, I don't know whether I can get past that one. Some people can, if there's counseling and everything else involved. These are things in a marriage that may have to be forgiven if you want to move forward in a relationship. I'm not saying that you have to forgive. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it depends on how it individually affects you and how willing your partner is to face the things that they have done and they have said. Because there's a lot of people who don't face any of these things and they continue to do it. They continue to neglect the kids, neglect themselves, neglect the relationship. Okay. And I'm saying this need to forgive is individually based. Number 4, putting kids, lying about money, neglect, substance abuse, abuse, physical, emotional, psychological, manipulation, sexual abuse. This right here is a boundary that you have gone beyond, a step beyond. How do I come back from you uh graping me? How do I come back from you um punching me in the face? I mean, this is up there. This is the top. A lot of people have had to forgive this particular thing. Maybe not forget, but people have had to forgive this particular thing in a marriage. This is something that a person has to face in counseling themselves as well. If a woman or a man is not willing to accept the fact that they are abusive and understand that they are abusive, the marriage is not going to last. I'm not saying you should forgive and forget. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying these are things that maybe you need to forget as an individual human being. And just because you forgive a person doesn't mean you have to live with a person. Somebody said something to me when I was younger. Just because I love you don't mean I got to live with you. Just because someone loves you doesn't mean you have to live with them. You can love them from afar. You can love them from a distance, right? And I get that. Physically violence, that's a no-no for me. I mean, it's something that I'm walking out the door with, and I don't care whether I have 10 kids or 5 kids. But I'm saying if you're one of those people that can be in the realm of forgiving, then that's something that you should be able to do and go forward with it. But the person who has done it needs to be remorseful, needs to understand the damage that they have created within that marriage, and be willing to face whatever consequences, whether that means you forgiving them and letting them come back, or you not forgiving them and or them not even addressing it. They have to be willing to live with whatever they do. But it's a decision. It's a decision that is meant for their mental well-being. But you make the decision that's best for you. Okay. The last one is cheating. Of course, cheating. When you have an affair, an emotional affair, a physical affair, I don't know which one is more damaging. Women have women mostly have emotional affairs. They're missing something, lacking something, something is going on. Men normally have physical affairs. There is a release. It's just something that they do. The wind blew. They felt like doing it. Something is not going right at home. I don't know which one is more damaging. When you have a physical affair or you have a mental affair. One in which you can do it and it doesn't mean anything. You're willing to blow up your 20-year marriage when something doesn't mean anything. Or the cheating one where emotionally you feel neglected and you cheat. Okay. Couples can rebuild their trust and move forward. Others may find all of these reprehensible: neglect, substance abuse, lying about money, not trying, trust is betrayed. 9 times out of 10, the women have to forgive and forget, right? But the holding those grudges is harmful. Communication needs to be there, needs to be addressed. You have to have forgiveness, mutual respect. Know when you have hit major things that can be forgiven, and know when you have hit minor things that can be forgiven. Him calling you a bitch is not a reason to walk out on the marriage. You call him a bitch ass nigga is not a reason for him to walk out on the marriage. But when a person holds resentment, it's going to create a barrier to trust and intimacy. Most men don't like to talk, don't like to have those conversations, those real deep, meaningful, why you hurt me kind of conversations. So 9 times out of 10 is going to be the women that has to pull up and do the mending. But you have to have those skill sets. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and communicate and let this person know about your feelings calmly and constructively, not a screaming in a bombastic way. Use I statements. Use I have understood. I get it. Don't blame. Try to see the other person's side of it. As a wife, try to see his side. He has to try to see your side. Listen to your partner's perspective on these kind of things. Okay? It'll clear up a lot. If you listen before you speak, it will clear up a lot of stuff. Forgive and let go. If you learn to forgive and let go of the small things, your relationship can last a little bit longer than if you just blow up on every little thing. It doesn't mean that you condone the behavior. What it means is you just want to get the weight off of your back. Because usually when something happens, you take it upon yourself. You may blame yourself. You may try to figure out what you did, how you did it. No, focus on solution. Focus on how you undo the reoccurring behavior that may be going on. Both of you have to find ways in order to go forward. Stop revisiting what happened last week. Stop revisiting things that happened last month. Don't bring up stuff that you said you forgave and you really didn't forgive. You really, really, really have to learn to forgive if you want relationships to go forward, because people are just living their lives. They're not doing things to hurt you. They're just living their lives. A lot of people take these things personal. Try to see things from your partner's point of view so you can have maybe understanding, compassion. Okay, this person has a chronic ability to lie. That needs to be faced head on. Everything needs to be faced head on. I'm not saying everything needs to be told and said, but you need to face all of these things immediately. They need to be addressed immediately. And God forbid, we are one of the worst races of people where we don't want to seek counseling. We don't want to ask people for help. You have to ask people for help. Because when you hold on to grudges, you don't learn to forgive. That eats away. Eats away. Okay? Eats away at the relationship. Because they grow into something bigger. 5 years down the road, you wondering why she bitching, nagging, da-da-da. You wondering why he's chronically telling you ain't shit. You can't even take care of the kids right. These are old resentments that never got addressed, never got forgiven, never got on the front burner and were addressed. Okay? When you got to forgive a person, it's a personal thing, and it can take time, and I get it. It's not me. It's not something that says I forgive you, and it's not like you forget the pain. It's not like you forget the act, but you got to find peace within yourself, within that marriage, if you want that marriage to work. A lot of people can't live with it. Like I said, I gave you 10 things that were unforgivable in relationships. And people have come back from those 10 things. People have come back from cheating, abuse, Me personally, I don't think I could come back from abuse for me or the child, but everything else I probably could come back from. Okay. Because I look at the behavior as the behavior that that person did, not the behavior that I did. If I'm the person it's getting done to, that person has to acknowledge your feelings, acknowledge what they did, accept the hurt, accept the anger, the betrayal. Let all of that flow over you. And sometimes you have to grieve the loss of the relationship that you thought you had. Put, put learn to I'm one of those people that I pull out a notebook and I write down my feelings. I write down stuff. I write down lists. It makes me feel better. It makes me my thoughts a little bit straighter. That's why I seem chaotic when I talk to people. It's because I think faster than I can speak, and sometimes it comes out jumbled and wrong. You notice in you notice in some of these lives at the beginning, I'm the stuff is like da 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 rolling like it's supposed to. It's because I've written that stuff down. And when I'm off script, as they say, it comes out as chaotic as though I don't know. So I'm saying learn to journal things. Learn to write your stuff down. Learn to write down the pain that you feel. Gain clarity about the situation. Learn and understand all aspects of what this betrayal or what you have to forgive is made of. Did he make a mistake? Did you make a mistake? Is it a pattern? Is it a one-off? Understand the context so you have the full picture before you move forward. Share your feelings with your wife, your husband, whoever you need to counselor, however you need to do it. If you need to journal and write it down like I do, listen to what they got to say. Listen to how they portray it. Do they try to skim over it? Do they take full accountability? All of these things are important when you're trying to get through forgiving another person for the things they have done. Then you have to decide what that means to you, what that forgiveness means to you. What does it mean to forgive another person in a marriage? And here's the most important part. Just because you forgive a person don't mean you're going to stay. That's the number one thing. Just because you forgiving that person means healing for you. Not healing for that person, healing for you. That doesn't mean you have to stay. It's about getting rid of the betrayal and the feelings and the resentment that you have for what they did. Are you trying to forgive the person for you, or are you trying to forgive the person for them? That's another thing you need to figure out. Am I trying to forgive this person because I don't want this person to leave, or are you trying to forgive this person because you can't live with the pain and the possibilities of what can happen next? These are things that you figure out. You figure out before you can forgive somebody. Set boundaries with your spouse. If the actions are ongoing, they have to cease it immediately. Establish boundaries. Establish what you will and will not tolerate. How far are you willing to go? Are you willing to deal with another woman in your relationship? Are you willing to get hit again? Are you willing to take the chance that you will get hit again? Are you willing to take the chance that they'll spend all the money in the bank again? Are you willing to take those chances? That's a question that you need to ask yourself too. Are you willing? Are you willing to keep those boundaries in place while this person learns your trust or earns your trust back? Both parties got to be committed to that. Go to counseling. This will help you learn to forgive. Join support group, journal, do all of these things. This will help you heal better. Not necessarily heal faster, but heal better. because you're taking into account all of the things that are necessary to see the whole picture. And learn to forgive yourself. If you forgave it in the past, but you didn't forgive it this time, you got to learn to forgive yourself too. If you're the person that did it, you also have to learn to forgive yourself and recognize why you did this to your mate, why you did this to your wife, why you did this to your husband. Forgiveness is not easy, and it's a process. It's not you're going to get there and then it's done. That's not how that works. Focus on your needs first. And then once you realize what your needs are, go forward. Don't stay in a relationship if you know you can't forgive it, because you become bitter, disheartened. You check out of the relationship and then the relationship dies. You have to figure out if this is forgivable. That's the first step. Is what this person did forgivable? If this thing that this person did is not forgivable, then you do what you have to do in order to check yourself out. There's no candy for being a martyr. Okay? There's no good thing for being a martyr. Nobody gets candy for being a martyr in a marriage. Nobody looks at the wife and say, "Oh yeah, she stuck it out when he was whipping her ass. She stuck it out." You don't get no kudos for that. Learn to understand what you can and cannot forgive. That's the first step in learning to forgive the wife, to forgive the husband. If there's issues that were happening before this behavior came along, then you need to figure out whether it's worth it to work it out. Excuse me. If this is a one-off, one-time deal, they've been lying all this time, immediately the behavior has to stop. You are the only person that can assess what's going on in that relationship. You can forgive and let go at the same time. You can do that. If the relationship has been healthy or unhealthy, consider whether you want to stay or not. Nobody's saying that you got to be in a relationship forever and a day when this person is toxic and they're not willing to address their behavior. I am saying if both of you are willing to be upfront and honest in this relationship, address the cheating, the lying, the substance abuse. Not a lot of people talk about substance abuse. I'm one of those people that if you have a drinking problem and I'm in a relationship with you, I don't look at it as a failure on my part. This is a failure on your part as a personal person, and you have to address it if you want to stay in a marriage with me. It's a personal failure on your part. I don't take any of a person's guilt onto me. My father taught me never to do that. Forgiveness is about you forgiving the other person, because it's something that you have to live with inside of you. I'm not going to carry my anger for you around with me. Now, I gave you guys 10 things that are difficult to get past. Neglecting the relationship, substance abuse, lying about money, lying about everything, who you are, what you do, when you do, where you go, putting the kids in danger. That might be a deal breaker for me. Disrespecting me. If that behavior changes, I could probably get past it, but it would have to change really quick. Cheating. I can get past cheating. I can get past cheating because I know how to put that in the rear view. But I'm that type person. Maybe you're not. I'm not saying do it. I'm saying, can you live with it? I can live with it and forget about it. Abuse. I don't think I can tolerate getting hit on. Trust. Okay. Trust is betrayed, or you pull other people into our relationship and you downgrade or you denigrate me to another person, or like I'm not a good wife, or this, that, and the third. People do that all the time. And when you don't try in a relationship, if you don't try, you just go, you just come home and take me for granted. Yeah, she gonna be there. Like we were watching a video with Single by Choices last night, and the dude was like, when I tell her to go home and stay there, and when I come, I come. No, that's neglecting me. You only got one time to do that, because we're correcting behaviors in real time. That's how you save marriages. You correct behavior in real time. The moment you find out about it is the moment that you have a game plan. I found out that you cheated today. I'm going to think about it, figure it out, try to figure out what's going on, and then I'm going to talk to you tomorrow. And then we're going to have full disclosure. You're not going to be able to run away. You're not going to be able to tell me I didn't see what I saw. You're not going to be able to do all of these things. You have to be a aggressive communicator in your marriage if you want to deal with things that need to be forgiven. Small things don't need to be forgiven. They just need to be worked out and talked about. Well, you didn't come home last night. Well, you didn't get this, or you didn't cook me food, or that's small stuff. That's little garbage. I'm one of those people that I don't believe that I have to cook every night. Long as I have food in front of you and your stomach is full, you shouldn't have a problem with how I get the food to the table. I'm one of those people. So I'm saying to you, it depends on what type of person you are. Have you been confronted by these 10 very, very unforgivable things? And these are 10 of the worst that can happen on a planet. Cheating, abuse, substance abuse, neglect, lying about money, finance, neglect. These are all the things that would be unforgivable. And it's up to an individual person whether they're willing to work through those unforgivable things. It's a personal and very meaningful thing. But what I do ask you to do as a wife, as a husband, whoever, if these things are happening to you, seek counseling. Before you do anything, seek counseling. Seek somebody, minister, pastor, counselor, professional, however you need to do it. If these things are happening, before you exit your marriage, because your marriage might be salvageable. These are the things you do first. Journal, write to yourself, go find self-help groups. Do all of these things first. If you're in an abusive relationship, of course, get out. If the children are being abused, of course, get out. But I'm saying seek immediate help after that. Okay? Do what needs to be done in order to save your sanity. Because if you're not a whole person in that relationship, it's never going to work. Two people have to come together as whole human beings before a marriage will be able to work. That's why I recommend you be a little bit older when you get married, between 25 and 30. Maybe you've had a little bit of life. This is based on two people who understand that maybe they came from a broken home and they want to fix whatever's wrong with them. Or I've seen people who come from horrific backgrounds and are able to process that horrific background and come out as good human beings. Not abusing their wife, not kicking their wife, not cussing her out. Horrific backgrounds. So I'm saying when you forgive somebody, it's a personal choice. It's a personal thing. Unforgivable things are on this planet. Unforgivable things are on this planet. And nobody is getting kudos or cookies or candy cane or nothing else for staying in an abusive relationship. That's never what I'm going to suggest. But what I am suggesting is some of these things are forgivable if counseling is on the table. If the person is willing to do the work, if that person is willing to do the work, if that person committed the atrocity, if that person did it in the relationship, if they're willing to face it head on, honestly, up front, I want to see your phone. I want to have your password. I want to have all of these things. No equivocation, no hesitation. If they're willing to do that, then you have to be willing to work too. I want to be up for you. Oh, you were cheating. I want to find out why, how, blah, blah, blah. Upfront, honest. No ifs, ands, or buts. You can get past cheating. It depends on how egregious and who else knows about the cheating, whether you can get past it or not. And I'm saying, as a wife, normally 9 times out of 10, a wife has to be the one to pull the family together. But that doesn't mean you can't have help. It doesn't mean you can't go to counseling, women's groups, journal, do all of these things. Don't sit there and wallow. Don't sit there and say, I don't know how I'm going to get past this. Talk to somebody. Write it down. Go talk to a counselor. Go to groups. There's free groups all over the place. There's groups of people who are dealing with spouses who drink, who do substance abuse, all of these things. There's help out there everywhere. And these marriages can be saved if you and your partner are willing to save them. So I'm willing and able to have somebody come on the panel if they wish to come on the panel. If not, I will give you a second or two to decide. If you do, if you don't, I thank you for letting me do the presentation on when to forgive, how to forgive, if you can forgive. There's no need to forgive if you don't think you can. Some things are beyond the pale. Okay? My husband just never committed things that were beyond the pale. There were certain things, like I said in the beginning, when I got married to him, what happened? I had just gotten my hair done and I was going out with the girls. He came in and he had been drinking and he pushed my head under the water, messed up my hair. I was mad. I got out of that damn bathtub and I started hitting that joker with a phone. Ding, ding, ding. And I hit him so damn hard he fell down the stairs. It must have been about 20 stairs. He fell all the way down all them stairs. I ran. I took off. Just so happened that the kids were at his sister's house. I ran because I know the people downstairs who live downstairs from us were going to call the police. So I ran. Excuse me. I still got a cold. Flu. So I ran. So I wasn't willing. Early on, I was a runner, right? And I'm saying running does no good in these kind of relationships. Plenty of times I thought, let me get the hell up out of here. What the hell am I doing married? Right? That was one time we got into an actual physical altercation. I can't remember any other time. I can't remember. But I'm saying there were plenty of things. The one thing he never called me was names. One thing he never did that. He never put his hands on me. That's the one thing he never did. Okay. Took me for granted a couple times. You know, lied about what he spent money on a couple times. I remember going to the bank and finding out I didn't have no money in the bank. I was like, why I ain't got no money in the bank? Oh, well, your husband is on your bank account. What? He done been to the bank and then took some money out of the bank. Ain't told me. These are things that you gonna have to figure out how you gonna get past as a wife in a relationship or as a husband in a relationship. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. What I am going to say is, if you want the marriage to last and it's not egregious, you'll find a way to get past, especially if that person wants to accept their responsibility for it. Okay. Please hit the like button. I hope you guys hit the like button coming in, please. And I thank you for that presentation today. If anybody wants to send me any kind of emails or letters or notes, please do, because I will read them. 3 people sent me emails. and then they I read them earlier in this live. So if you want to send me letters, I will address whatever is in that letter or that email if you want it to be addressed. So I thank you guys for showing up. I really I don't need a panel or anything like that. I just want to convey information to people and real live instances about marriage and what needs to be done and what you want to do. Nobody gets any kind of kudos for staying married if you're in an abusive situation. Everything is tailored individually. But I do encourage you to seek counseling. I do encourage you to journal. I do encourage you to spend time with other people who have similar experiences so you can make a determination as to whether you want to stay married or you don't want to stay married. But two whole individuals have to work. Two whole individuals have to walk up to that minister, that priest, into that church, into that office building and decide that they want to stay married. And if you want to stay married, both of you are got to be willing to do what needs to be done. But both of y'all got to be grown. It just is what it is. And I thank you guys for showing up for me. Thank you. This is HQ.